Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. For updates on sports stories across the globe, Aaron Akirijola joins us. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, very good morning to you, Aya. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Morning.
Good morning to you, Rufai. Let's start it off. He's doing good, by the way. Let's start it off from things going on in Nigeria. And to be specific, let's visit into Lagos State and the Minister of Sports visits to the National Stadium yesterday. And in the words of the minister, he says, after taking the tour of the National Stadium and the edifice that has been standing for over 5 decades, that he weeps at the state of infrastructure in Lagos State. That a stadium that should have been a beacon of hope and beacon of light for sports in Nigeria is literally a show of shame. It's unfortunate things have actually deteriorated to a certain point, and monies were pumped into the National Stadium in the last 2 years thanks to the benevolence of Park Kensington. But unfortunately, this is still how the National Stadium, after some minor surgical work was done to the National Stadium, this is still the state of the National Stadium, literally beyond repair. According to the former Minister of Sports, we might need to even pull this down or reinforce this particular structure if it is to be used. At the moment, it's just taking space and literally a show of shame, or probably maybe just a reminder of the yesteryears and the glory days of Nigerian sports. Away from that, something got a lot of people excited yesterday, which was the draws of the UEFA Champions League. And as it stands right now, of course, all teams have actually they do know they are standing at the moment, and as he actually gets into it, of course, this is looking like the group of death: Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan, and New Boys Newcastle United having one torrid time in Group F. So at the moment, let's see if the Newcastle team can actually rise to the occasion. For Manchester City, everyone seems to be saying that they actually got a very, very easy group because RB Leipzig, Red Star Belgrade, and Young Boys, so the defending champions, might be able to finish top of the group on paper as it stands. And Arsenal, they are looking like they were paired with Europa League sides because Sevilla, PSV, and Lens. I must say that Arsenal are looking like they can actually finish top of the table in this particular one and go as far. And Manchester United not being handed the best of draws because they will have to contend for top spots with Bayern Munich. Of course, they have FC Copenhagen and Turkish side Galatasaray. So quickly away from that, let's talk about the fact that yesterday awards were actually given out to several people that had distinguished themselves in the year in view. And for let's start looking from the women. Of course, Bomati yesterday actually was given the best player in UEFA for the women. So kudos to her with what she did with the Spanish national team. And she used the opportunity to speak against the Spanish authorities, the Spanish president, who is still defiant, and all that happened. Okay, let's talk about the other guy, the guy on the right, talking about Erling Haaland. Of course, after having a stellar career with Manchester City last season, he was actually voted the men's player of the year. And for the coaches, Pep Guardiola actually took the gong as the coach of the year for the men, having led Manchester City to a treble and actually won the UEFA Champions League last season. And for the women, Serena Wigman, although coming short in the World Cup, she still was voted Women Coach of the Year, and she used the opportunity to also praise the Spanish national team for what they did, dedicating it to them. And quickly, Rufai, Lewis Hamilton has put pen to paper on a 2-year deal, which would actually run from now to 2025. So he's going to be with the German constructor Mercedes for the next 2 years. And a lot of people are questioning why?
Ferrari.
Okay. But he seems to have put all that to bed as he has decided to extend his contract for another 2 years. And quickly, the US Open has been roaring strong, and I must say that some players that I expected, the likes of the Medvedev of this world, have actually risen to the occasion, but it was rather unfortunate. But first of all, Medvedev also actually hit a huge milestone, 250 hardcore match wins yesterday, so kudos to him. But one man actually beat the dust, talking about Andy Murray, as he was beaten by Gregory Dimitrov, a man that he knows very well growing up in tennis. And ultimately, but the one thing we want to celebrate was the fact that he was able to urge in this particular US Open 200 wins in in his entire career. When you look at the career Grand Slam wins, he's been able to get under his belt. Kudos to him. Of course, it was easy breezy for Daniil Medvedev on the day, and also Pegula also getting the best of Teague, 6-3, 6-1. And let's see what happens when Pegula takes on Svitolina later on today, around 3. So it's actually waxing strong on Ons Jabeur. She's been soldiering on, not in the best of fitness. We are hoping that this African would deliver a Grand Slam for the nation and for the continent, I beg your pardon.
I mean, Aaron,
Yeah.
please.
Would like to ask, what was done with that Baba Jebu's money last year? We would like to know. That money was a lot of money. At first, how much was it, even in its entirety? Who was that money given to?
According to the former Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Diary, he said the money was not a lot of money.
How much
because
was
it was about $1 million.
$1 million.
Yes, it wasn't a lot of money because he says that they needed about, was it 14 or $12 billion to be able to get it to that particular level.
So how much did they spend out of the $1 million?
I think they spent everything, because if they can actually help us with that video again of the overview of the stadium, of course they spent money actually laying the tartan track. I think they also tried to do some gardening work on the pitch, which wasn't really good enough, and also they put electronic billboards there. So probably
What about the structure that holds the?
nothing was done. Nothing was done. The gods had the final say when several of the floodlights actually came down.
Wow.
All right. Okay.
And have they cleaned all the fecal matter
Yeah,
everywhere?
they've done the ones they've been able to, I think, move the ones they could move aside, and the rest they just laid them aside.
Right, just very quickly, in the past few days, we
Yeah.
have been setting an agenda for the new ministers.
Yeah.
For Mr. John Eno, what would be the priority for his brand new Ministry of Sports Development, which now stands alone away from youth?
Yeah, he has spoken about the fact that he wants to focus on infrastructure, which is almost like the bedrock of Eno sports. And he's spoken also about concession in the stadium. But we're hoping that for once, that they will put their money where their mouth is, because they've been talking about, every minister that comes talks about concession, but that never actually materializes. I don't know why, but it never materializes. But let's see what actually happens. For him, he needs to actually, like I was saying to someone yesterday, they need to actually focus on the athletes and their coaches.
Whatever be the case, that
Yeah.
national stadium is an eyesore.
Yes, it is.
It should not end up as an abandoned project, because that's what it looks like now. And we hope that nobody is going to have a brainwave tomorrow and say, oh, they are going to privatize it, or that the national stadium will be converted to another kind of use. It's important to make sure that that national edifice, which is also a major symbol, is rehabilitated and properly
But
fixed.
Doctor, the point is, I don't know how that will even happen at this point.
No, because you were saying
it is bad,
the building may
extremely
be,
bad.
You were saying the structure may be pulled down. The temptation, if they pull it down, don't be surprised if they turn the place into a housing estate.
They've already done that. They've already done that to the back of the.
So we must insist that this must be fixed. That's number one. Number two,
Yeah.
the big story about Lewis Hamilton, it's not just the contract, but the fact that at 38, with this 2-year contract, he's going to
push it,
remain
to 40.
in the sport till 40 years
Yes.
and above.
Yeah.
So he will fall into the same category as Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
Although he says Alonso is not his hero. That one is his rival. He says his hero, his source of inspiration is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Brady still staying in the game till the age of 45.
40, yeah.
And then, of course, nobody should be surprised that Haaland got Player of the Year award.
Some will be, because
52 goals in 53 games.
Yeah.
Champions League, FA Cup, Premier League. I mean, what else can you ask for? There's no controversy about that. And also, of course, Pep Guardiola and Serena Wigman. Congratulations to her. One final piece of information that I saw is that the UEFA, president has said there is no way that Saudi Arabia clubs or teams will be allowed in the Champions League.
So
After
now,
all, what it means is that Saudi money cannot buy everything.
No,
That's what
doctor.
they said
For
for
now,
golf.
that's what. For now,
what
they
they said
can.
for
They can only speak
golf.
for now because these administrators are money hungry.
But in any case, Saudi
Money
Arabia
hungry.
is not in Europe.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They might have invitationals that would actually bring them in. They might just expand the clause to actually bring them in.
Thank you.
All right.